Have you ever thought what happens with the spaceships in the games when, well, they will become old? Well, this game is answering this question, well, kind of in its own way. And in this video, we're going to be reviewing Spaceship Salvage Simulator called Hardspace Shipbreaker and deciding whether it is actually worth it to buy or not. So, without further ado, let's just get it started. As always, I'm going to be giving you all the answers right away just to not waste your time and just go and play the game or go not play the game or do whatever you want to not waste your, well, time. So is Hardspace Shipbreaker worth it? Yes, absolutely. I was actually shocked how good this game is and how polished and how well detailed this game is. And weirdly enough, I simply loved such a stupid premise as being a salvager in, well, space station. You have to just experience this. This is one of the most weirdly great experiences that I have, well, experienced in the video games in the past few years. But let's just go into the details and, well, salvage this game piece by piece. By the way, full disclaimer right here, do what you want with this information, whether you want to continue with it or not. But I got access to the full version, release version of this game for free by the developers. I'm not being paid. This video is not being seen by anyone beforehand except me. So yeah, use this information however you want. So what is Hardspace Shipbreaker? So this game is happening in somewhere near future and you are a salvager. You are assigned to the space station near Earth and your goal is basically to salvage ships that is being delivered to you. And by salvaging I mean, well, disassembling ships piece by piece and, well, sorting them into either a processor, in a furnace, or in a barge. Barge is a place where you put the things that are still working, like for example computers on a ship or some furniture. Or in a furnace, you are putting the metal parts like a carcass of the ship, internal beams and carcass of the ship. And in a processor, you put like the other parts, like the hull parts or the things that can be processed and can be used. And the premise of the ship is extremely simple. There is not much to it, but the details that this game is actually giving to you is making this an amazing experience. You see, the game actually has the story. And in the story, you got this job and you got an insane amount of debt with it. You are more than $1 billion in debt, and probably because this is actually a future, the inflation is gone to an insane rate, so $1 billion might not be a lot of money in that time. I don't know. And what you're doing is you're basically trying to salvage those ships in order to get out of your debt. And in this futuristic world, you're basically scanned for genetic makeup, and when you'll die, you'll basically be rebuilt again. So basically you have a death mechanics in this game as well. And you don't want to die because when you'll die, it costs money to rebuild you, adding to your debt. Plus every day you are adding to your debt because you are actually using the habitation module where you live in, and you're actually renting all of those equipments, plus you're accumulating interest, and you will basically need to work a lot in order to get out of this debt. Kind of like a real world. And story-wise, you're not alone there. Well, you are technically alone, you don't see anyone, but around you there are also other stations where other people like you, other salvagers, are working there. And you have a constant communication with them, you hear them talking with each other, there's some story bits going on there, and yeah, it's actually pretty fun and gives this world in this game a bit of life because, yeah, as you can understand, salvaging the ships over and over again can become boring, but with these story elements and with these smaller details, it's actually not. But let's finish talking about an atmosphere of the game. Let's talk about the actual gameplay itself. You see, at first, game sounds like an adventure or an action, but in reality, it's actually a puzzle game. Because disassembling the ships without actually damaging the parts or destroying the parts or dying actually takes quite a lot of, well, knowledge. And the knowledge is actually given to you bit by bit. For example, one of the most valuable parts of the ships are its reactors. And if you have class 1 reactors, all you need to do is pull it out from its housing and just put it on a barge. And you need to do it fast because as soon as you will take it out, it will start meltdown. And if you will, well, salvage it as soon as possible, it will explode, killing you and destroying everything around you. But in class 2 reactor, it becomes a bit more complicated. With a class 2 reactor, the reactor is actually encased in a housing that you need to disassemble bit by bit. It's also connected to the thrusters and it's also connected to the coolant. When if you, well, take out the reactor before you're gonna disengage the thrusters or cut off the coolant, the meltdown will happen really quickly. And if you'll do those things beforehand, Meltdown will happen significantly slowly, giving you the time to actually, well, put the reactor on a barge. Another interesting mechanic is when the air locks and air pressure. You see, because you're in space, you don't have air pressure. It's nothing around it. But some ships have actually still functioning atmosphere regulators, and you have a pressure inside. And if you cut out some parts that is, well, connected to the hull, the air pressure will push all the air outside. And as an example, one time I put out the thruster cap, which was actually connected to the pressurized part of the ship, and it actually pushed me out, made me hit the wall behind me, and made the thruster cap hit in front of me and just killed me instantly. So yeah, you have to, well, pay attention to those parts as well. But then you have a bunch of other mechanics with the fire, with the fuel, with the coolant, with electricity, with radiation. And at first I thought that, oh, it would be an insanely difficult job to do so because you need to learn all those things. But what game is actually doing is giving you those mechanics or the hazard levels, as the game is calling, bit by bit and very, very slowly. Even after 10-15 hours into the game, you will still be unlocking new mechanics and new hazard levels. Because at first you're gonna have very basic things without actually any danger. All you need to do is just find a place where you need to put your cuts, take out the parts, and, well, put them in the, well, respective places of the furnace, processor, or barge. And then fire hazards will be introduced, and electrical hazards will be introduced, and etc, etc. So even 15 and maybe even 20 hours into the game, you will still be unlocking new interesting mechanics and ships. And as for the tools and how you actually disassemble the ships, you basically have two tools. You have your grapple, which is basically a gravity gun from Half-Life, which will allow you to, well, move things around and take the things apart, and your laser cutter, which is basically a laser that cuts the parts of the ship. As you move around the ship, you're using your thrusters and you're also using your oxygen. So you will need to actually constantly replenish this, and they actually cost money. So you actually need to take the price of those into the consideration as well. Plus your suit, your thrusters, even your tools are actually degrading over time, and you will actually need to fix them as well. And you can also upgrade your tools to allow you to carry more weight, or to cut faster or further, or to travel faster, to have higher oxygen supplies, or have higher thruster fuel supplies, or be more resilient to the damage of different types, and small things like that that are introduced, again, very slowly and gradually, so you would not be overwhelmed ever in this game. And this game probably has the most interesting and, well, full tutorial, because, well, you actually don't have tutorials. You have few training levels that actually continues as regular levels. It teaches you things so slowly, so gradually, that you will never become overwhelmed, and most importantly, you are not becoming bored. Each session or each shift is lasting for 15 minutes, and you will need to actually salvage as much of the ship parts as possible in these 15 minutes. Each ship has a few goals that you need to accomplish. For some it will be 5 goals, for others it will be 7, for others it will be more. And as you unlock those goals, you gain your XP, unlocking new ships, gaining your levels, unlocking new ships, and things, etc, etc, etc. I know it all sounds a bit overwhelming. Like, this game has many different small details and small mechanics, and I didn't even said everything, because the game has much more mechanics and much more things that you can actually use and unlock. But it all is delivered in such a pleasant and such a slow pace that you will never become overwhelmed. And the game is actually insanely fun. The game is actually very fun and relaxing experience. Game has very, like, old school soundtrack as well, giving you very fun and giving you very relaxing vibes. And if you like the relaxing games, like for example Euro Truck Simulator, and you love driving for the sake of driving and for the relaxation, this game has a similar vibe. But it's not as easy and simple as you might think at first. Game is becoming gradually more difficult and very cool and interesting. And with a story and small details like that, the atmosphere of this game is insanely good. And I'm trying to think what are the negatives of the game. For me, there was none, but I fully understand that this type of gameplay might not be for everyone. If you don't like relaxing games and if you want action all the time, well, this is not it. This is literally a puzzle game. And your puzzle is to disassemble the ships as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And you need to do this just to get out of the debt. But yeah, game is cool, game is fun, but let's now talk about the pricing and how much it will cost you to get this game. Full disclaimer here, I'm recording this video before its release, before its full release while it's still in early access. So the prices for this will be an early access prices. So game is available on Steam for the base price of $34.99 for tier 1 countries and $25.99 for tier 2 countries, and can go as low as $16.74 for tier 1 countries and $13.39 for tier 2 countries. Now, I'm not sure, but most likely the base price of the game will go up after the release, so you should know that. So is this game actually worth to buy? Now, if you're looking at this video while on sale after its release, 100%. Go and get this game 100%. This game is absolutely worth it. Unless you hate relaxing games and you hate the games where you need to do repetitive tasks over and over again. Well, if you hate these games and there is no shame in that, then yeah, don't get this game no matter what. But yeah, don't get this game. But even for those people, I would suggest you to try this game for the first few hours, and if you hate it, then yeah, you can always get a refund. Now, what about the full price? Well, I won't lie to you. If I would not play this game beforehand, and if I was buying the game just by watching the reviews like that, most likely I myself would not buy this game for the full price. Not because it is not worth it, not because of that, but by buying the game on a discount, you're actually risking less money. Now I know that if I have bought this game for the sale price or for the full price, I would not regret this. I know this now. I would not regret this. I love this game so much. But just watching the review videos or gameplay videos does not give the game full justice. So it's actually much more interesting and much more relaxing by playing this. So for everyone who likes the relaxing games, I would 100% recommend getting this game, especially if you and spaceship type of games, get this game. And for the full price, if you can afford it, then go and get this. And for the full price, if you love what I said about this game, if you like the relaxing, then if you can afford this, and if you can afford paying full price of the game, go ahead, 100%. You will understand whether you like this game or not in a refund window, 100%. And I'm absolutely sure 95% of you who bought this game from this review will love it. I'm sure of that. At least if you like the similar games that I do. Well, my overall verdict is this. Hardspace Shipbreaker is an amazing game. I highly recommend this game because it's one of the most unique and amazing experiences that you probably haven't seen in a while. So yeah, 100% get this game. And I'm 95% sure that majority of you will not regret this game. Yeah. Well, this should be it for today. Thank you for being here with me. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. See ya.